Why would he take off?
My mom wants to talk to you.
Sure. Is this his mom?
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Deputy Barry Sheriff's Office. How are you? Good. I pulled your son over and he took off on me.
A high school kid is driving his little sister to school. A deputy is standing in the road and waves at him. The kid, not sure what the officer wants, keeps moving to turn toward the school. Seconds later, that same deputy has him yanked out of the car and in handcuffs, accusing him of fleeing and eluding the police. There were no lights. There was no siren. There was a teenager trying to get to class. But here is the part that turns this whole thing around. The kid's terrified sister pulls out a phone and calls their mother, and it just so happens that mom is an attorney. And by the time this is over, that traffic stop becomes a $2 million lawsuit. My name is Ben, and I am a criminal defense attorney. I am not here to sell you outrage. You can get that anywhere. I am here to walk you through the law, line by line, because this case is a masterclass in how an officer can invent a serious crime out of a simple misunderstanding, and how his own body camera makes sure he pays for it. So here is what I am going to break down for you. I am going to explain what fleeing and eluding actually requires, and why an officer with no lights on does not even come close. I am going to show you the moment the deputy gets the mother on the phone and digs himself in deeper. I am going to explain why what he wrote in his report is very different from what the camera recorded. And I am going to show you exactly what this kind of arrest costs a county. Watch closely, because the lesson here is that an officer calling something a crime does not make it one. Real quick, and look at this, because it matters. About 99% of the people watching this right now are not subscribed. If you want to actually understand your rights when an officer does something like this to you or your kid, fix that. Hit subscribe. I break down a real case exactly like this one every single day. Okay, let us get into it.
Call mom. No, we're calling no one right now.
What? You can call my mom, no? What's going on, sir?
I pulled you over and you took off. I waved you over and you took off.
You didn't.
When a police officer standing in front of you and waves you over, I pointed to the side of the road and you took off.
I thought you were pointing to the open lane, sir.
No, not open lane.
I didn't know.
I'm pulling you over.
I didn't know.
Take off.
I didn't know,
Why are you
sir.
coming in here?
I was turning around and I had to turn left to get to school.
Right.
Sir, I didn't know.
Got the wallet?
Yes, it's in my backpack.
Have a seat. You knew better. You knew exactly
No,
what
sir,
I was doing.
did not.
You have a driver's license for him, ma'am?
No, I don't know where it is. It's here. It's not. I don't know where it is.
Why would he take off? I waved you over and pointed to the side of the road. Why would he take off? Why would he take off?
My mom wants to talk to you.
Sure. Is this his mom?
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Deputy Barry Sheriff's Office. How are you?
Let me start with the charge, fleeing and eluding, because the entire arrest lives or dies on it. This is a serious crime, and people assume that if a cop says you ran, you ran. But the law has real requirements. To be guilty of fleeing and eluding, you generally have to willfully refuse to stop after being given a clear order to do so by an officer you know is an officer. And in most states, that means a marked patrol vehicle with its lights and siren activated. That word, willfully, is everything. It means you knew you were being ordered to stop, and you deliberately chose to flee anyway. Now look at what actually happened here. The deputy is standing in the roadway, waving his arm, with no lights and no siren, and a teenage driver, understandably, is not sure if that means stop here, go around, or move to another lane. That is not willful flight from the law. That is confusion about an ambiguous hand signal, and confusion is the exact opposite of the willful intent this crime requires.
Good. I pulled your son over and he took off on me. Yeah. Ma'am, it's not real hard when I step right in front of his car and point to the side of the road. You're not listening to me, ma'am. You are not listening to me. You're not you're. I need his driver's license.
I don't know where it is.
Look at the center console.
I don't know where it is. I don't know if he has a wallet. It's typically in his phone. I don't know where it is.
Okay, set your phone there. We're not doing any phone calls during my traffic stop. It's real simple. A police officer steps in front of your car and points to the side of the road, and you can see there's another car pulled over, correct? Did you see the other car pulled over? Yes.
Yes.
And then when I'm pointing to the side of the road for you, I'm not telling you to go into another lane. I am telling you to pull over. You go to North Broward?
Yes.
Then you should be halfway as you...
And that brings us to the misunderstanding itself, because you can hear it on the tape. The kid explains, calmly and consistently, that he thought he was being directed toward the open lane, and that he was turning to get to his school. Think about how reasonable that is. When you see someone waving in the road, half the time they are telling you to keep moving, go around, come this way. Without lights, or a siren, or a clear command to pull over, there was nothing to tell this kid he was being stopped by police at all, as opposed to being waved through. The law does not punish you for guessing wrong about an unclear gesture. It punishes deliberate flight. And a kid who slows, talks to the officer, and immediately explains himself is not fleeing from anyone. So now look at the arrest, because this is where a bad judgment call becomes a civil rights problem. Instead of taking 30 seconds to realize this was a misunderstanding, the deputy escalates. He pulls a cooperative teenager out of the car and puts him in handcuffs for a crime that, on these facts, did not happen. And here is the legal issue. An arrest requires probable cause, real facts pointing to an actual crime. If the fleeing and eluding charge collapses, and on this evidence it does, then there was no lawful basis to arrest him at all. That is a textbook false arrest, and doing it to a compliant high school student on his way to school is exactly the kind of thing that makes a jury very, very unhappy with a police department.
Directly in front of your car and points to the side of the road, and then you start going over, and then you take off. And then you pull into somewhere where you don't belong right here either.
Because I have to turn left to turn around because I missed the exit on Lions.
You missed the exit on Lions.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Then you could have did a U-turn right there.
I know, I was trying to
So, where's your driver's license at?
It's in my wallet, in my backpack.
Where's your backpack?
It's in the back left
What you
seat of the
committed was a
car.
felony. His backpack's in the back of the car. You shouldn't be upset. You didn't do anything wrong. Find his backpack, give me his license.
It's right there.
I asked for you to find his backpack and give me his license. You guys go to a very nice school. It's very obvious when a police officer stands in front of your car.
You thought you were telling us to...
Well, no, I'm not telling you to change lanes.
Sorry.
As you can see, there was another car already pulled over. If I stand directly into your front of your car, and point to the side of the road and start walking to your car as you pass me, that would be an indicator.
This is exactly why you subscribe, by the way, so you understand how these situations really work before you or someone you love is the one in the handcuffs. Now, let me get to the phone call, because it is the turning point. The sister, scared, calls their mom and hands the situation to someone who actually knows the law. And you can hear the deputy on the phone, insisting, "I pulled your son over, and he took off on me," telling the mother she is not listening to him, but he has it backwards. She is listening perfectly. She just is not buying it. And there is a legal point buried in here that you need to know. At one point, the pushback is essentially, "We are not doing any phone calls during my traffic stop." Now, an officer can manage a scene, but a person, especially a minor, reaching out to a parent or trying to involve a lawyer is not a crime, and it is not obstruction. That instinct, get someone on the phone who knows your rights, is exactly the right instinct, and it is a big part of why this family ended up in a strong position instead of a weak one.
You see she's got a license. Do you have your driver's license? You're the other car. He's doing the same thing. Don't cry. You didn't do nothing wrong.
I know, I just know.
Is this your brother?
Yes.
You need to have a serious talk with him how to drive. How old are you? Who's okay. When I get done with you, you can explain to your mom how an officer stands directly in front of your car and points to the side of the road, and I start walking up to your car after you slow down and pulling over in front of...
Now let me be fair, because if I only give you one side, I am no better than the outrage machine. The deputy's defense is this. He says he stepped into the road, made himself visible, and clearly signaled the driver to pull to the side, and the car kept going. And if that were the whole truth, he would have a point. Ignoring a clear, lawful order from an identifiable officer is a real problem. So let us take it seriously. Here is what breaks it. A hand wave in the road, with no lights, no siren, and no marked stop, is inherently ambiguous, and the law knows it. The state has to prove the driver knew he was being ordered to stop and chose to flee. A teenager slowing down, turning toward his school, and immediately explaining he thought he was being waved through is the opposite of that. The officer's subjective certainty that his signal was obvious does not turn a misunderstanding into a felony.
A police officer would not stand in front of you and direct you to another lane to drive. It's obvious because the other 5 cars I pulled over and did the same thing. They knew what to do, so we're going to call that common sense. My 16-year-old son who has a learner's permit and my daughter, would they know exactly what I was doing? Corbin. What's your name? Corbin? There you go, Corbin. Now that I've properly identified you, I can take the handcuffs off. I detained you because you had no driver's license on you. Do you understand? You're going to have a seat in your car. I'm going to write you a citation and send you down the road. This is going to be a lesson learned for you, Corbin. Arm back. Look at me. It's common sense, Corbin. Come on.
And this is where his own words come back to haunt him, because there is what happened, and then there is what he wrote. In cases like this, the arrest report describes a driver who defiantly fled from a clearly marked police stop. But the body camera shows something else entirely: a confused kid, no lights, no siren, and an immediate cooperative explanation. When the written report and the video tell 2 different stories, that is not a small problem. It can be fabrication, and a fabricated report is one of the fastest ways an officer destroys his own credibility and hands the other side the case. The camera does not care what the report says. It recorded the truth. So let us talk about what this actually cost, because it is not abstract. This ended in a $2 million settlement. $2 million of the county's money, which is to say the taxpayers' money, paid out because a deputy turned a misunderstanding into a wrongful arrest of a kid. And these cases go beyond just the one officer. When the conduct is bad enough, the family can sue the department itself under a theory called Monell, arguing a failure to train officers on what actually constitutes fleeing, or on when they can and cannot arrest. Add in the threats and the aggression toward a minor, and you are looking at exactly the kind of case that a county's lawyers take one look at and decide to settle, rather than show that video to a jury.
I've seen your car. You're going to get a ticket. I got your driver's license. You get back.
I'm trying to sit in my driver's seat.
Yeah, have a seat. You're fine. Okay, Corbin. Here's your phones back. Here's your license back. Next time a police officer stands directly in front of your car, and points to the side of the road in front of the car that is already pulled over, you should pull over. Not slow down and go to the right and then take off. You understand? Okay. You're getting this traffic citation guide for failure to turn right. The lane you're in is a right turn only. You can't drive up to those poles and stop and then cut in because you disrupt traffic. If you're in the right turn lane, then you got to make the right turn. You understand? Okay, put your seatbelt back on, go to school, let this be a learning experience. I'm sure I'll get a call from your mom, but the nice thing about what I have is a body camera. It shows you slowly pulling over and then going. I don't know what your thought process was, but it wasn't.
So here is what I want you to take from all of this, because a lot of you are thinking about your own kids learning to drive. Hear me carefully. If an officer ever signals you in a way you do not understand, the safe move is to slow down, put your hands where they can be seen, and make it obvious you are complying, not fleeing. If you are stopped and things go sideways, stay calm, do not resist, and do exactly what this family did. Get someone on the phone who knows the law. And if you are a parent, teach your kids this now. An officer accusing you of a crime does not make you guilty of it, and staying calm while the camera records is how the truth survives. Because that is what saved this kid. Not yelling, not running, the footage. That is why you know your rights. If this opened your eyes even a little, do me one favor and subscribe, because tomorrow there is another case, and the next one might be the one that protects your family. I am Ben, and I will see you on the next one.